this take so damn long?
Well, I think it's because Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones were trying to convince Jason Garrett to stay with the organization in some capacity in a role other than being the head coach. But in terms of him returning as the big guy down in Dallas with the clipboard on the sideline, we knew that wasn't going to happen after the season ended with them missing the playoffs. So I don't think this was a matter of whether or not he was trying to lobby for his job. I think it was trying to figure out if there were any other opportunities for Garrett with the Cowboys organization.
I absolutely agree. They're trying to figure out, did he have a front office position? Also, I think Jerry Jones was picking his brain as far as the next coach for the football team, the type of character of the football team. And I think Jason Garrett would be the only guy in the organization that would know that the best. He's been there as the head coach for 9.5 years. They've done some great things. They also have underachieved. They have to find a coach that can bring them some achievement, much better than they have in these last few years.
Listen, I don't want to be married to you anymore, but would you be my relationship consultant while I pick my next spouse?
That does not work.
It doesn't tend to work out. On to playoff football, which kicks off Saturday. Tom Brady is excited and ready for the challenge of facing the Titans in the first wild card game he'll play in over a decade, saying, quote, "It's playoff football. Everyone knows what's at stake." B, what are you expecting in this matchup tomorrow night?
Well, when I think about this game, the winner of this game is going to have to be able to run the football and stop the run. The Titans have been very good at running the football with Derrick Henry over these last 8-9 games of the season. And the Patriots have been pretty good running the football as well. Who can stop the run? Which one of these defenses can stop the run? That's what it's going to come down to. You also have to factor in turnovers, especially if you're Tom Brady.
Absolutely. In a playoff game, you got to play mistake-free football, and you have to give the edge to Tom Brady and the Patriots just because of the experience discrepancy between the two quarterbacks. Ryan Tannehill never played in a playoff game, so, I mean, you have to look at it from the standpoint of, okay, he hasn't had success, but you're looking at Tom Brady having success in the postseason throughout the entire career that he's had in New England. So, yeah, I got to go with the Pats.
Will the Titans be ready for the Patriot trick play on offense? Will the Titans be ready when they are punting the football for whatever madness the Patriots have created this year via their punt block coverage team? Will the Titans be ready for those things? I don't know that the Patriots can consistently move the ball up and down the field. They have found other ways to score points. That's how they've won games this year. Titans got to be prepared for that. On to Seahawks-Eagles. Russell Wilson will be in Philly to face Carson Wentz. Russ looking for his 9th career playoff win, while Wentz will be making his first career playoff start. Brian, which quarterback needs to play better for their team to win this game?
You know, really, when you look at both of these teams, both of them have been, are dealing with injuries throughout the entire season. And at this point, Carson Wentz, he has none of his starting receivers. His tight end has broken ribs and a lacerated kidney. His running backs have injuries with Miles Sanders. And so there's a lot of things going on. But Carson Wentz has been able to weather the storm and make his team play better. And so when I think about it, if their quarterback doesn't play well, I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles have a chance of winning this football game because Carson Wentz has been that force multiplier. He has been the guy that has taken his team on his back and on his shoulders these last 4 games of the season, and he's played well. I think Carson Wentz is the guy that has to have a good game in order for his team to win.
Yeah, I think Carson Wentz has to have a good game to put his team in position to win, but Carson Wentz's defense is significantly better than Russell Wilson's defense, so you have to look at the entire picture, and I think that I would probably lean towards Russell Wilson having to do more in order to give his team a viable path to victory. You look at the Seattle Seahawks, this is a run-first football team. Only problem with that is they've lost their top 3 rushers in the last 5 weeks of the regular season, so now they had to lean on bringing on Marshawn Lynch and then Travis Homer, guys like that. I don't necessarily feel good about the position that puts Russell Wilson in. And then you also factor in how that offensive line has played for the Seahawks in the second half of football. Since week 10, they're the only team in the NFL allowing sacks on 10% of their dropbacks. That has to be a serious concern if the Seahawks aren't able to get the running game going. If they can't have balance on offense and they're forced to be a volume drop-back passing team, that's going to put a lot of pressure on Russell Wilson. I do like the wide receiver matchups that the Seahawks have against the cornerbacks for the Philadelphia Eagles. The only problem with that is you have to have time in the pocket to be able to take advantage of the deficiency of that Eagles defense. I don't know if the Eagles defensive line is going to be able to afford Russell Wilson that time, especially going up against that offensive line.
No team that made the playoffs in the NFC had a worse defense than Seattle. by far. No team allowed more points. No team allowed more yards. No team was worse against the run. No team was worse against the pass. This is an offense-only team. Bill Barnwell compared them to the Colts team that won. He did, if the team wins the Super Bowl, what's the team it's going to remind you of? And he used the 06 Colts, which was an offense-only team that all of a sudden the playoffs, the defense flipped a bit of a switch. Bob Sanders, Quandre Diggs playing that role for Seattle. I think it's a great comp because Seattle, we think of Seattle and we say, oh, Pete Carroll, Legion of Boom, great defense. And for a lot of people who maybe don't do red zone or don't watch the whole league, they saw Seattle against San Francisco in that epic game the first time around, and you saw Jadeveon Clowney wreck shop throughout that football game. Problem is, since then, Clowney's been hurt. That game seemed to take a lot out of him. This team has a historically bad pass rush. 132 teams make the playoffs last 11 years. They're 129th in sack rate. Yet I'm still picking them. Why? Because of Russell Wilson. Because I believe in Russell Wilson's ability to make the special plays in the critical moments. And unlike last year, where they were a run-oriented team, they had all their running backs going into the playoff game last year against Dallas, so they thought we got to use them. Keep running Chris Carson in the line of scrimmage, even though that is not what is working. Run Rashad Penny. Run the ball 24 times for 73 yards, and with running backs 21 times for 60 yards. Just abysmal. I almost think, not for the totality of the playoff run, not if they play San Francisco again next week, which they probably would if they win, unless the Vikings upset the Saints. For this game, the running back injuries could help them, because I think they will be forced into doing something they should have been doing the last few years, which is believe what your eyes are telling you. Russell Wilson's one of the 3 best players at his position in the entire NFL. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. You could argue he got snubbed from that NFL 100 list that just came out. He's that level of player. Rely on him to go to Philadelphia and beat this football team, a football team that one of the reasons they underachieved this year, Brian, was because of injuries. The other reason was a pass rush never fully materialized from Philly the way I thought it would. Fletcher Cox coming off the best season of his career, down to 3.5 sacks. I think Russell Wilson's going to have plenty of opportunities, and I think he is going to come through in those opportunities.
The Philadelphia Eagles have been beat down the field by receivers almost all season long, in part because of the pass rush has not been very good, and they've gotten inconsistent play from their cornerbacks in their secondary. Here's the thing, and you mentioned it, Nick. The Seattle defense hasn't been very good. It's probably one of the worst in the playoffs as we look at it. However, they're really good at taking the ball away. They're 3rd in the league at takeaways. Yep. And the last time the Philadelphia Eagles played the Seahawks, Carson Wentz had 4 turnovers, 2 interceptions, and 2 fumbles. If Carson Wentz has that type of game, this is a runaway game for the Seattle Seahawks. He has to be able to protect the ball, especially in the pocket. That means 2 hands on the football and not making blind throws down the field. If he can do that, then the Philadelphia Eagles have just as good a chance of winning this football game with their cast of characters that nobody can actually name as the Seahawks do in this game in Philly.
Somehow I feel like this game's already been played. The Seahawks are down 5 with 3 minutes left, and Russell Wilson orchestrates a game-winning touchdown drive in a very close victory.